A common image format is being used to trick web servers into poking around internal networks, and it's hitting a popular open-source site builder.
I'm Melody. That's Alec. Let's break it down.
We're starting today with mlog. It's an open-source website building system, and there's a serious flaw tracked as CVE-2026-21433. Basically, it allows for server-side request forgery, or SSRF, through a really clever vector, SVG files.
Wait, SVG files? I thought those were just scalable graphics. How does a picture file tell a server to start scanning a network?
That's the thing. SVGs aren't just pixels. They're XML-based. They're essentially code that tells a browser or a server how to draw an image. In this case, an attacker can upload a crafted SVG to the media management page. When the server tries to process it, maybe to create a thumbnail or just to sanitize the file, the server reads the external resource references inside that XML and actually goes out and fetches them.
Right, and if it's fetching things, it's acting as a proxy for the attacker. This reminds me of that issue with, what was it, the WordPress plugins last year? Same idea, using the server's own trust to look at internal stuff the attacker can't see from the outside.
Exactly. If that mlog server is sitting inside a corporate network, an attacker can use this to probe internal IP addresses, hit local services, or even grab metadata from cloud environments. If you're running mlog, you need to look at how you're handling media uploads, especially SVGs. It's a classic case of a feature becoming a bug.
It feels like we see this every time a dev forgets that XML is basically a choose-your-own-adventure for hackers. Speaking of things that can be manipulated, what's going on with MessagePack? I saw a Java-related advisory this morning.
Yeah, this is CVE 2026-21452. It hits MessagePack for Java, which is a big deal serializer. People use it because it's faster and smaller than JSON. But there's a denial of service vulnerability in how it handles certain objects.
MessagePack, that's used in a lot of back-end microservices, isn't it? If that goes down, it's not just one app, it's potentially the whole pipeline.
Precisely. The issue is with how it parses extension headers. It does it lazily, meaning it doesn't check everything up front. When the library finally tries to materialize the data, it looks at the length the attacker claimed the data was and tries to allocate a byte array for it immediately. There's no check to see if that length is reasonable.
So I tell the server, hey, I'm sending you 4 gigabytes of data. And the server just says, okay, and tries to grab all that RAM at once?
Exactly. It's an instant memory exhaustion attack. One malicious packet and your Java heap is gone. You'll want to update to MessagePack Java version 0.9.11 to fix that one. It's a library update, so it might take a bit for downstream apps to catch up.
That's the supply chain headache again. It's like Log4j Lite. You don't even know you're using it until it breaks. Now, I noticed 2 different SQL injection flaws for something called Online Music Site. Is that a specific product or just a generic name?
It's a project from Code-Projects, often used as a template or for smaller sites. CVE 2026-0569 and 0570. They're both classic SQL injections, one in the album category page and one in the feedback form. The ID and FName parameters aren't being cleaned at all.
Honestly, Alec, in 2026, seeing a FName parameter vulnerable to SQLI, it feels like we're back in 2005. It's almost nostalgic if it wasn't so dangerous. These are the kinds of things that script kiddies use to dump entire user databases in 5 minutes.
It's a reminder that while we're worried about AI and advanced threats, the basics are still wide open in a lot of software. Along those same lines, we have an IDOR in Bagisto, which is a Laravel-based e-commerce platform. This is CVE 2026-21447.
Bagisto, right? They're quite popular for open source shops. And IDOR usually means I can see things I shouldn't by just changing a number in the URL, right?
Spot on. In this case, it's the reorder function. An authenticated customer can change the order ID parameter and pull items from another customer's order into their own cart. It exposes sensitive purchase history and honestly could be used for some weird fraud schemes.
That's a huge privacy mess. If I'm buying something sensitive and a random user can see my order history just by guessing my order number, e-commerce vendors using Begisto need to get to version 2.3.10 immediately.
Agreed. Now, this next one is a bit more under the hood. It's libtpms, the library that provides software emulation for a trusted platform module, CVE 2026-21433.
Wait, the TPM is supposed to be the root of trust for the whole system. If the library emulating it has a flaw, doesn't that undermine everything?
It certainly doesn't help. The flaw is in how it integrates with OpenSSL 3.x. When using certain symmetric ciphers, instead of returning a new, unique initialization vector, or IV, for the next step, it keeps returning the initial IV. In cryptography, reusing an IV with the same key is a massive no-no. It makes the encryption significantly easier to crack.
It's like using the same password for every single account, but at the math level. If you know the first part of the pattern, you can start guessing the rest. That's scary because we rely on TPMs for disk encryption and secure boot.
Exactly. It affects versions 0.10.0 and 0.10.1. If you're a developer using this for virtualization or secure enclaves, you need to pull the patch. It's a subtle bug, but the impact on data confidentiality is high.
Speaking of modern tech, I saw one for anything LLM. I'm guessing this is another case of a new AI tool having old-school web problems?
You nailed it. CVE 2026-21433. It's a username enumeration vulnerability in the password recovery endpoint. The server gives different error messages if a username exists versus if it doesn't.
Classic. User not found versus password incorrect. It's the first thing a botnet checks when it's trying to build a target list for a brute force attack. It's funny, we're building these incredibly complex LLM tools, but we're forgetting the Web Security 101 stuff from 20 years ago.
It's the rush to market, Melody. Security is often the last thing on the checklist. One more quick one before we move to the news. CVE 2026-0571. It's a path traversal vulnerability in a project called Yechifu Warehouse. It allows an attacker to manipulate file paths to access files outside the intended directory.
Path traversal. So the ... attack. Again, really basic, but it can lead to a full system compromise if they can grab configuration files or passwords. It's been a busy morning for the basics. But moving away from patches, Alec, that Covenant Health breach looks massive.
It's significant. Nearly 480,000 people impacted. This stems from a cyber attack last year against Covenant Health, a Catholic healthcare organization. They've finally started sending out the notification letters.
Wait, I remember this one now. This was linked to the Chilean ransomware group, right? They've been on a tear lately. Didn't they just hit that lab group in London, Synovis, a few months back?
Good memory. Yes, Chilean. They're known for being particularly aggressive with data exfiltration. In this case, they got away with sensitive patient info, names, social security numbers, medical records, the whole works.
It's that same pattern. Hit a healthcare provider because they can't afford the downtime, and even if they don't pay the ransom to unlock the files, the stolen data is a goldmine for identity theft. These nonprofit health systems are such soft targets because their budgets are always stretched thin.
And the fallout lasts for years. 480,000 people now have to look over their shoulders for the rest of their lives. It's a stark reminder that data at rest is a liability if it's not properly segmented and encrypted.
Speaking of looking over shoulders, there's a new spying campaign targeting the Indian government. This one feels very geopolitical.
Right. This is APT-36, also known as Transparent Tribe. They're a Pakistan-linked group that's been active for years. This latest campaign is hitting Indian government bodies, military-linked orgs, and even universities.
Transparent Tribe, they usually use pretty standard spear phishing, don't they? Lure people in with a document about regional security or HR policies, and then drop a remote access Trojan?
Exactly. They aren't always the most sophisticated in terms of quote-unquote 0 days, but they are incredibly persistent. They've been using a lot of custom malware lately, specifically targeting Linux systems and Android phones, which shows they're evolving. They want long-term access to monitor communications.
It's a classic chess match. Every time India's defense gets better, Transparent Tribe tweaks their payload. It's not about a big bang attack. It's about staying quiet and listening.
On the other side of the world, we're seeing some high-level government intervention in the tech supply chain. President Trump just ordered a divestment in a $2.9 million chips deal involving MCore Corp.
Wait, 2.9 million? In the world of chip manufacturing, that's almost pocket change. Why is the White House getting involved in such a small deal?
Because it's not about the money. It's about the intellectual property and the fabrication capabilities. MCore does aerospace and defense work. The deal involves selling off their computer chips and wafer fabrication operation to a foreign-linked entity. The administration's stance is that letting this tech leave U.S. control is a national security risk.
This feels like a continuation of the trend we've seen for a few years now, treating the semiconductor supply chain as a front line in national defense. It doesn't matter if it's a multi-billion-dollar factory or a small specialized lab. If it touches defense, it's under the microscope.
Exactly. It's about de-risking. We're seeing more and more of these interventions from the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. If you're in the defense tech space, who you sell to is now as important as what you build.
And finally, just to lighten things up slightly, I saw Bruce Schneier's blog today. Apparently, someone found a squid in a light fixture?
Yeah, his Friday squid blogging. It's a tradition. Apparently, it was a college prank, but he always uses those posts as a forum for the community to discuss the stories that didn't make the headlines.
I love that. Even in a field as serious as cybersecurity, there's room for a bit of weirdness. It's a good reminder that behind all these CVEs and APT groups, it's still just people on both sides. Some are trying to steal your data, and some are just putting calamari in a lamp.
I'd rather deal with the lamp squid than the Chilean ransomware, to be honest. But before we go, the priority for today. If you're running mlog or using Message Pack for Java, those are your immediate patch targets. Check your media upload policies for SVG files specifically.
If this saved you time, subscribe and hit the bell. We're here every morning.
Stay patched, stay paranoid.